everyone, my name is Alyssa. I read, and this vlog is like a hot mess. I just have to confess. So I started a themed vlog, and the original concept was to read books that I think I was gonna DNF. And I was really excited for this vlog. I had this huge stack of books of maybe 8 to 10 books. And they were all books I was not sure that I was still interested in, but I still really wanted to give them a good chance because they've been on my bookshelves for a long time. There's a reason why I haven't unhauled them yet. And so I wanted to do this vlog, and I was excited for it, and I was filming it and I was about to complete it when I realized a lot of my footage was unusable. So for Christmas, the Christmas gift that I got for myself was some new equipment for filming. I got a new camera, not a new camera, I got a new microphone, and I got a new light to attach to this arm that I also got to kind of have this vlogging setup. I've never had anything overly professional like that. It's not professional, but I've never had a microphone to attach to my camera because I use a camcorder. A lot of people use DSLRs, and I'm just not interested in that. I want something simple and basic, but I never had a proper microphone because you need a certain type of microphone. Long story short, I got this new equipment and I haven't used it a lot, and I thought I was using it correctly, and I wasn't. A lot of my footage doesn't have any audio, so I still really want to have this vlog go up. So this is gonna be a hot mess vlog. There's gonna be a lot of me here like this talking about the books that I read, and I will just tell you that I loved these books, and I'm not even gonna show you the entire TBR. I'm just gonna show you what I ended up reading, and I'm gonna show you clips of this vlog. I don't know, a lot of it doesn't have any audio, but you're gonna hear me narrating kind of what's going on. So let's get started with this vlog. My TBR ended up being, if I can do it, this. I started off with The Conspiracy of Us by Maggie Hall, and then I read the Darkest Powers trilogy by Kelly Armstrong. So this is primarily a YA romance vlog. That's what I read this time around. I do actually have old footage of me talking about The Conspiracy of Us, but as of right now, I will tell you the synopsis. So this one, we follow Avery, and she and her mother are always moving. They're constantly, I don't want to say on the run, but they move around a lot, and it's always affected Avery. She's always been a really good daughter for her mother, but it takes its toll on her to have to move all the time and always be the new kid, and she never tries with friends because she just thinks she's gonna pick up and move again. And so she's in a new place, and she's still the new kid, and there's a new boy who shows up at her school too, who's also a new kid, and she's really intrigued by him. And then there's this other boy who shows up who's a little mysterious and a little bit nervous for Avery, and he confronts her and says that he knows who her dad is, who's not been a part of her life, and she can meet him if she comes with him to Paris. So she does. It's kind of strange, but she does do that, and she finds out that she is somehow related to one of the 12 families. There's 12 families in this world who rule the world. So it's called The Conspiracy of Us because it's based on this conspiracy that there are 12 families that rule the world. This story is set in a place where this conspiracy is actually true, and these families are descendants from the 12 who worked with Alexander the Great or something like that. And she gets swept up in this love triangle, kind of. Her and I think his name is Jack. Yeah, they go to different places to uncover artifacts to help solve some mysteries. So that is the concept for this. I'm gonna include the clip that I was able to salvage. So I'm gonna include that next, and I'll talk about my feelings after. So I just wanted to update that I am currently reading this, and this ended up being such a big surprise. Look how far I am. I did not anticipate liking this book, and I can't believe I was actually gonna DNF it, like, or just unhaul it before even reading it. So yes, this was a major shock, but I'm obsessed. I can't put it down. I'm absolutely loving it, and I guess I will have to wait till my camera is fully charged to fully express how I feel about it. This has been a crazy surprise because I didn't think I was gonna like this. This was one of the books that I was just like, I don't know if I'm interested. I don't know if I want to pick this up. I don't know if I'm excited about this. And this is why this video is such a good idea, because it forces me to at least give it a chance. And if I didn't give it a chance, I wouldn't be so obsessed. And like, that's how I feel about this book. I'm just so obsessed. And it's just like a wild ride. It's just so much fun. And that's why I'm obsessed with it, because it's just fun. It's super fluffy, popcorn kind of read. It is very much like the Da Vinci Code or National Treasurer, where they're like running to different places around the world to collect information to try and decipher a specific prophecy. And she can't quite trust anyone. She's not sure if she can trust either of the boys, and she's learning more about how these families run, and they're kind of like, you know, I don't know how to describe it, but these families are extremely loyal to their personal family, but also to each other, but also maybe there's some rivalries. There's this other organization that is against the circle, and it's just so much fun. There's like car races, there's like assassination attempts. It's just out there, and I just am eating it up so much. And there's a romance in here. I wouldn't even call it like a love triangle, even though there's another male character here. I would say it's not a love triangle. It's just this one romance, which is kind of like, it's a bodyguard romance kind of situation. And I'm loving it. It's so much fun. I'm loving it so much that I am getting close to the end. I think I have like less than 100 pages, and I probably will finish it today because I am so obsessed. The thing, like, it is very YA still, but I think what I'm learning about myself is that, like, I love YA. I thought I was kind of getting over it, but I think I'm learning like what my favorite type of YA is. And I specifically love YA fantasy. I specifically love YA romance. Specifically like in a contemporary setting, and like I would kind of say this is kind of like a fantasy, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like an adventure action story, but one of my favorite elements of fantasy or urban fantasy, I guess you can say this kind of falls under, is when our female protagonist, who is usually the case in YA, is like plucked out of obscurity and placed in like a brand new setting, whether it's a fantasy setting or just like rags to riches situation where she's kind of like fish out of water, and then the love interest kind of like introduces our female character to this new world or situation or whatever it is. And this definitely happens here. There is definitely, you know, you kind of roll your eyes a bit when it's like, when you can tell we're trying to like live vicariously through the character. So like there's a scene where she's like trying on beautiful dresses because these families are extremely rich and she gets the opportunity to do so, and like things like that is kind of like, oh, okay, whatever, you know, because it falls under those tropes. There's always going to be like scenes like that. But then this author kind of took that and twisted it a bit, and there was a kind of like a surprise after that scene. And so I just like how it's a wild ride, and it's just fun, and it's a popcorn read and nothing more. And that's my favorite thing about it. And then like I'm leaning towards a 5-star because I just can't, I'm like obsessed with it. It's just so much fun, and it feels like it shouldn't be a 5-star, but I can't help like be obsessed with it. So I'm really excited to have read this one, and I'm glad that I gave it a chance. And that's the purpose of this video, which is to give books that I probably wouldn't have liked a proper chance. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But when it works out, it's amazing. So I started this a few weeks back, and then I put it down. I was like obsessed with it. I couldn't put it down. It was just so much fun. You kind of have to dispel your disbelief. I forget what the phrase is, but like you can't take this story too seriously, and in a lot of ways it doesn't let you, because it's about conspiracy theories and about families that rule the world, and like big, rich, powerful families. So by doing that, all the campiness and silliness of the story just like really works for me, and it's just a lot of fun. I love the action, adventure, and kind of running from the order and things like that. So like there's the Circle, who are the 12 families, and then there's this other organization that opposes the 12 families called the Order, and they are trying to stop the 12 families, I guess. They're against the 12 families, and the 12 families like live by the mandate, which is this like prophecy that was stated, and Avery is swept up in this prophecy. It is about her or involves her, and her and Jack try to uncover artifacts that help solidify the mandate a little bit more, or just like give it perspective, like try to like uncover some discoveries, I guess, or mysteries. And there's a romance in here that's super angsty. There is a bodyguard. It's like a bodyguard romance, kind of. It's not technically a bodyguard, but like that's kind of how I view Jack. He's not part of the 12, but Avery is. So it is a little bit forbidden, which I really like. I love all the suspense and action. There's like car chases and things like that in here, and it's just so much fun. And I wouldn't say there's a love triangle, but there is going to be a love triangle, and I'm just like here for it because it just is like light. It's just fun. It's just like a fun ride. I feel like I'm watching like an action teen movie, and I really enjoy this. I'm giving this like 5 stars. It was really easy to pick up again. I was like swept up into the story, and I'm so excited to read book 2. So this is high recommendation for me. I think the best comparison I could think of is the Da Vinci Code or like National Treasure. I never watched those movies, but like the conspiracy stuff is kind of what reminds me of it. So there are, like I said, like traditional YA tropes. I love it. I eat it up. I gave it 5 stars. Then after that, I picked up The Darkest Powers trilogy. The Summoning, The Awakening, and The Reckoning. I will tell you right now, this cover does not portray this series at all. Like I think, and I don't want to say these covers are misleading, but like these are like the original covers. Like it's very traditional early 2000s covers for YA, but like I don't know, when I look at these covers I think witches, because they have like these necklaces around their necks and things like that. It's not. It's a paranormal romance. There are witches in here, but it's like urban fantasy. So there's like werewolves and witches and sorcerers, and I think there are vampires in here. So it's like not just about like female friendship, seeing ghosts kind of stuff. It's like paranormal romance. So I kind of wish there was maybe just like something else to portray that it is a traditional paranormal romance, but that's just me. I don't know. So I started off with The Summoning. So we follow Chloe, and she lives with her dad, but her dad is never around. Her dad is a very successful businessman, and so she mostly lives like with her maid or housekeeper and stuff like that. So she's kind of like on her own, even though she like really loves her dad. Her dad isn't really there for her, but one day she like freaks out because she sees things that she does not understand, and what she thinks she sees are ghosts. So since she's seeing ghosts and has like an episode at school, she gets whisked off to this place called Lyle House, which is like a group home for teens who have struggles, mental illness specifically. And so she's here, and Lyle House isn't what it seems to be. So that's the synopsis for book 1. So okay, so I really loved book 1 a lot. So she goes off to Lyle House, and she gets introduced to the characters there. It is like a mysterious place where there's some questions. You know, it leaves you with some questions about this place. Could she actually trust the people who are running it? Can she trust the other students who live there? And like it's a group home where they all like have school there, and they all have chores and things like that, and they can't leave this home. They're pretty much stuck there. And there's 2 boys there that she gets to know really well that are brothers. She starts to believe that, or they convince her that maybe what she's seeing are actually ghosts. and that maybe she is part of a world that she's never known before. So like I said, this is paranormal. Kelly Armstrong does a lot of good like horror elements when it comes to her paranormal, which I always love. She sees ghosts, and like I said before, there are werewolves and there are witches and sorcerers and things like that in this world. And Loud House is not what it seems to be. This series in general, because I read all 3 books, it's a mixture of Mara, Shatter Me, and Scarlet from the Cinder series. Specifically the romance. Like the thing that really got me was obviously the mystery of like what's going on, especially in book 1, but the romance really got me. The romance is grumpy, sunshine. Like she's kind of sunshiny, more so like she's very optimistic and tries to see the bright side of things, and is extra kind to people who maybe even shouldn't who probably don't deserve it. And then the hero is super grumpy and not controlling, but like he's grumpy and always there for her. And that's the thing I loved about this romance so much, was that she was there for the hero when he needed her, and he was there for her when she really needed him. Book 1, I really loved like the group home aspect, because I don't know, I like it when there's people who are in one place against their will, who are kind of gaslighting them. I do like that element. The other thing I need to say is that it involves mental illness and gaslighting, and I feel like that's a really important point to make, because I feel like with horror and thrillers, mental illness is a trope. I didn't like the fact that the author used mental illness within this story, and gaslighting and things like that. At least she flipped it on its head, because usually mental illness is used to explain, how do I say it? Usually in thrillers and horror, from what I understand, is that mental illness is used to explain the paranormal, where in here, the paranormal is used to explain the mental illness. Does that make sense? So in that way, I appreciate that she flipped that trope on its head. In a way, they do use the word schizo in here, which I didn't like. The teenage girl talked about, she views people who are schizophrenic as people who are homeless who talk to themselves, and I didn't really like that statement either. It wasn't really corrected or anything, but it's a teenager thinking that way. So I don't know, take that as you would, but I didn't like the word, I didn't like that they used the word schizo in here. I wasn't a fan of that, but I really still loved it, and I gave the book 1 5 stars. Like I said, it is a paranormal romance, but like book 1 is almost like not like a romance, because the romance takes 3 books. Book 1 is just kind of a hint of it, possibly like the beginning of a build-up. We're gonna move on. So book 2, which is The Awakening, is a continuation, and I liked this one a little bit less. The romance got way better. Like the romance throughout this series, I would say, is like a 5-star romance, and there was things in book 2 that I loved that helped develop the romance. But book 2 is a lot of like teens on the run, and I realize I don't really like that. I don't like reading about teenagers running away, I guess. I think I would feel differently if it was like a full-fledged fantasy and a like separate world, but the fact that it's set in the real world with like fantasy elements, it bothered me more, because I think we're still living under the constraint of our world and the rules within our world. And I don't know, I just don't like reading about teens running away, I guess. And they had a good reason to run away, but I don't know, I don't like reading about teens on the street, I guess. In a lot of ways, I wish this series was adult, and I probably would have enjoyed it even more if it was adult. So the YA elements here kind of hindered it for me, but the romance was still really good. I liked the development of the werewolf lore, or seeing like specifically what it's like to change into a werewolf. I liked that development for this world. And I forgot to say, I love Chloe's powers so much. Her powers are not utilized the way I wish it would. Like, she's so powerful, but she doesn't use her powers properly. Like, she could do so much more and she doesn't. And I don't like that. But I still really liked it, and I gave it 4 stars. And finally, I read The Reckoning, which is the last book. I just like binge read this series and was really, really good, and I really, really loved it. There is a love triangle, and it kind of comes out in book 3. It gets resolved in book 3. One thing that I was really disappointed by with the romance is that I felt like I didn't get enough, and the final like conclusion of them together wasn't enough for me. I wanted more sparks at the end, I guess, and there was just too much stuff happening at the end. Also, I don't like the trope of we gotta fight against the establishment. I don't like that, and I shouldn't say hate, but sometimes in YA books it gets where like the adults save the day, and I don't like that either, because pretty much through the entire series they were on their own and doing a lot for themselves. Again, Chloe didn't utilize her power like she could have. She could have been a lot more help. She's very much a damsel a lot of the times, and it's like, you could do this, you can do that. There's like, use your brain. Like, there's so much more you can do. You do not have to rely on anyone else to save you, which is so frustrating. She doesn't need anyone, yet she is reliant on everyone when they're in a conflict or a fight or something, which is so frustrating, because like she is actually so powerful and she could do so much, and she just doesn't. And that's one of my biggest criticisms for Chloe, is that like she could do so much more and she doesn't. It's so frustrating. I do like seeing the hero saving her sometimes, but she should be saving him too, and she doesn't, and she's just like constantly dropping knives. I'm like, why are you having this knife if you're not going to use it? Like, so frustrating. And then there's a scene in book 3 that was very similar to book 2, which was annoying, and there were plot points that were brought up in book 2 that we got to see the fallout in book 3, and it just fell flat. Like, it made it seem like something scary could happen, and Chloe decided to do it anyways, and then it just kind of like sizzled out. I was just like, what? And then, like I said, the romance was almost just like, I love Chloe and Derek so much. Like, I'm probably gonna think about them a lot. Like, I was so obsessed about them because he's so grumpy, and he just like wants to protect her so much and is completely in love with her but can't say it, and vice versa, and she like doesn't quite know her feelings or understand her feelings, but they're there for each other in times of crisis, which I so loved. But the end, it's like I needed a little bit more. So I did buy the short story collection for the series, and there's some short stories that take place after the events of this trilogy, and so I probably will be reading those, and I'm like hoping that there's some like good romantic stuff that kind of help me feel satisfied. If not, I'll just have to write stories in my head, which sometimes I do. I do recommend the series though. Like, I was obsessed with it. I gave book 1 5 stars, I gave book 2 4 stars, and then I gave the last book 4 stars. So it's a really good, solid series, and I'm so excited to read more Kelly Armstrong, and I'm excited to read her adult series, which involve werewolves, which is like the main thing in here, not the only thing, but the main thing in here. I should also say there's necromancers in here, which I love. That's one of my favorite powers. This ended up being such a strange video. I'm so sorry that this didn't work out. Those are the books that I read. I've learned my lesson. Like, I'm kind of miffed that this happened, but so be it. Hopefully I can scrounge something together. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you have not done so. You can follow me on Goodreads and Instagram, and you know what? I want you to keep reading. Bye.